The future is here. An innovation that will change the way the industry works. A Hot 100 chart, updated daily. The most accurate price guide on the market. Every card has its own profile with a wealth of information. Know the precise, real-time value of any card in the system. On demand. You now have the power to unlock the secrets of the hobby. The game changer is here. Card Ladder.
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday night. Let me do something as people pour in. So, great guy named Mike sent me a package. So you can see I was very excited. I just shredded it open and said, congratulations on your first pack pulled 100% authentic Michael Jordan autograph. And so I'm very excited. And then this is what pops out of the package. This is indeed a Michael Jordan rookie autograph, but it's the wrong Michael Jordan.
Oh, who is that?
That's Michael Jordan.
We can't really see it. It's like your video is kind of blurry.
This is Michael Jordan, Philadelphia 2001, authentic autograph, Pennsylvania.
Superstar.
Imagine what it must have been like going through your life with the name Michael Jordan.
Just ask Michael B. Jordan, the actor.
That's some of my mail. I have more mail too. You have the mail.
I got some mail today.
Yeah.
I got some mail.
Let a few more people roll in. Yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah, I like the PSA better. I obviously downgraded the grade, but the slab is just so much nicer for these cards, in my opinion.
It is.
PSA just
It is.
rocks you on these grades.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. I mean, PSA is absolutely brutal. And it seems like it gets worse as the years go by on how they grade condition-sensitive 90s cards.
They did cross this for me. So this was a quad 9.5 that they crossed. 2 out of 5 on the cross game. Not great. Grabbed a couple of Pokemon cards.
Ooh, we have questions about Pokemon.
I'm probably a little late to the game, but I snagged a couple weeks ago. And it's gone kind of bonkers. This is probably the biggest one I got. Anthony Simmons, yikes. These are pretty sweet. And then Grand Finale, I think I went live with that one. And for you, my friend.
Boom.
These are tough to find, man. Tough to find, you know? Tough. Only about 2,000 of these bad boys.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Limited release.
Very limited. You gotta look for them. I did get this, though. These are limited.
Yeah. Those are awesome to me. I love that design.
They're cool. It's kind of annoying that they have like Genesis, Peacock, Green Swirl, and it's like I honestly wish they would just pick one, but I guess this is probably the most popular of them of the bunch.
It is the best one in my opinion.
Yeah. I think it's because it's got the best name and it's the less gimmicky, least gimmicky. And dude, I was gonna just like roll through these. I don't even know if people know that I have these.
Show them. What is it? That was that. I'm sorry. Hold on for a second. That's the Zard first edition PSA 8.
Yeah.
That card is going nuts right now.
Yeah, I have the whole set.
Ooh.
Yeah, these are. I mean, I've had these for forever. I've had these for like since I started. This is what I started with, and I really haven't like looked at them since I've done sports cards pretty intensely, so I just kind of like push the Pokemon to the side. But man, people love Pokemon right now. I'm not really surprised. I think they're cool. I don't know that I ever saw this sort of growth, but
Talk about why and what attracted you to collecting Pokemon cards.
I collected them as a kid. I collected Pokemon as a kid more than I did sports cards because they were cheaper, they were more attainable for me, and like it was easier to get the packs when I was a kid. So my mom bought packs for my brother and I. We actually pulled a Charizard, not the first edition, but we pulled like a unlimited Charizard. I still have it somewhere over here. My brother and I kept it. Those are even like the base unlimited are worth a lot right now. So that's
Yes, they are.
So I have like all the base first editions. I have all the jungle, fossil, unlimiteds, Japanese. I have all of them. I think I have like every original release card you could have, and all of my first edition holos are at least in the PSA 8 or higher because I just thought it was cool to have that. And they're cool
How long
cards.
have you had them?
These?
How long have you had them for? Yeah.
Probably about 3 or 4 years. I think the last one I got was Venusaur. I probably got Venusaur like 3 years ago.
Wow. I just want to like hold on this for a second because, I mean, a lot of people, perhaps even on this stream, haven't been in the hobby for 3 to 4 years, let alone held cards, let alone held a set of cards for 3 to 4 years. Like, there's something very collectible about what you just showed. Why? Why didn't you sell them? Why aren't you selling them now? Why are you keeping these cards? And why have you kept them for 3 to 4 years?
It took me a while to put it together. They're not too terribly difficult to buy. They're expensive now. When I was doing them, they were pretty easy, but I had a limited budget at that time, so it took me a while to save up and buy all these. I had just like knocked off one at a time. I think I bought the Charizard for like $2,000 or something, and that was like obviously the most expensive one. And that took quite a bit of work on my part. This guy was always my favorite, so I had to get a 9. I don't know. It's just like I've always wanted the set when I was a kid, and I finally finished the set as an adult. So it's like finishing the set is like very collectible to me. And I think that's what Pokemon is better for, is like more of a set thing than sports cards are, in my opinion. Like it's cooler to have the whole set. It's a little bit easier to put together. So
that's awesome.
when people are like, "Oh, you're buying Pokemon because of the hype," actually, I've had Pokemon much longer than basketball. So I think it's just buy what you like and hold it if you like it.
Yep, I think that's well said. The last time a first edition PSA 8 sold was 12,000, but that was 2 weeks ago, and the market has increased since then. I see it every night. Charizard's set all-time highs. First edition Shadowless, unlimited base set, they all set all-time highs every night. So that I don't know, probably maybe 15 to 20,000 just the Charizard alone right now.
There's a auction at like $25,000.
20. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I would be very, very, very cautious about getting into Pokemon right now, guys. If you're interested in it, I would be very cautious because it's just like everything's like 3x. You've seen it, Chris. Everything's like 3x in the last couple weeks, so I would be very careful.
I agree.
There's a lot of knowledge that goes into it too. It's not just like buy Charizard.
Yep. Indeed. And not saying that I think Pokemon is in a different category than some of the other categories that I'm about to mention for fundamental reasons, but we have seen now something happen over the last half year. First, it was Project 2020. Soccer cards got into this mix. Basketball rookies, football rookies, to a much lesser extent, but also saw this phenomena happen. Vintage saw it happen on a grand scale. I'm talking about cards that like 3 to 4x over the period of a few weeks and then have a rapid descent. It's happened in a number of categories now, and I'm not saying that it will necessarily happen with Pokemon because Pokemon is a very different world, and it has an incredibly enduring collector base with nostalgic ties to it, and people are reluctant to sell it. But nonetheless, we've seen this cycle happen enough times now that if you see 3 to 4x over a few weeks and then suddenly it retreats basically pretty much back down to where it was before the surge happened, well, there's plenty of evidence to support that happens when people get really excited about something that they see as an investment vehicle. It brings a bunch of copies to the market, basically.
Yeah, I mean, people said the same thing about even like Luka cards about, you'd see people saying like, this is only going to go up. He's the face of the league. It's going to go up forever kind of talk. And like, that's just not reality. And everything goes down. I mean, Pokemon also has like pretty high pop reports if you look through stuff. So like, this stuff's pretty easy for the supply to increase. Like if people start selling right now, I mean, I'd be crazy to I would be crazy not to consider selling just how much it's gone up, honestly. And so if more people like myself consider selling, it's like the supply is going to go up. You just got to be careful.
Yeah, you do. But past is never prologue in the hobby. There are unicorn and unique circumstances that, so that's why, playing markets is one thing. A lot of people try to take the angle of playing markets, but I've always preferred to rely on collector taste and collector preference and collector intuition. And that's why I was like really fascinated and interested in the fact that you had collected that set and you kept it for 3 to 4 years. And I could see the pride of ownership even as you rifled through them. That to me says a lot about Pokemon.
Yeah. Rodman asked the pop on the PSA 8 Charizard's like 500. I think the 9 is 645, even higher than the 8, and I think the 10 is like 130. So it's there's quite a bit. There's less than like the Jordan Fleer 86, which is kind of like I would say that the Charizard, this one right here, the first edition base, is synonymous with the 86 Fleer Jordan. The pops are pretty similar. The Charizard's lower, but it's a pretty similar like trajectory and card.
Yeah. Well, Mike Pinkerton 50 wrote in. I'll skip ahead to his question quickly. He said, "Pokemon's going crazy. Gary Vee just showed an $80,000 card." And there was a question from Putnam. Putnam card said, "Current value of 86 Fleer Jordan PSA 10 and how a Charizard 10 is now worth nearly twice as much." And I think that there was an auction for like 180 or something like that for a Charizard first edition PSA 10. So like literally he made the Jordan Fleer connection that you just made. And
I mean, the big thing is Logan Paul. He's like the big YouTube guy. He's got like 22 million followers, which is like 3 times what Gary Vee has. That's a lot of followers. And he's been really public about it. He's been super excited. He's got the nostalgia kick of Pokemon, and I can't blame him. But that's a big part of it, right? Like someone with 22 million followers starts buying Pokemon. That's a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah, and it's not just him. Logic has been very high on Pokemon. Gary Vee, as Mike mentioned, has been talking about Pokemon for a while. There's an appetite among sports card collectors for Pokemon as well. I think there's like a serious overlap there between the two. And, you throw in the mix that it's now cards have become this investment vehicle for people. And like, so you bring like sports card investors kind of coming to their Pokemon roots, collectors from sports cards coming into that situation. You got all the enduring legends of Pokemon collecting, like the guy that you turned me on to, SM Pratt, and then all these new big time names coming in. Like there's just a lot of reason to like expect Pokemon to be like exploding like it is right now. We can identify some of the causes, in other words.
Here's an interesting data point. The pop on the Jordan is about 3 times Charizard, a little bit less than 3x the PSA 10, but the Charizard in the last 2 years has only sold twice, and the Jordan has sold 47 times. So to me, that just says like people that have Pokemon just aren't as willing to sell. Maybe. I mean, that's a pretty big gap.
It's a huge gap. The 86 Fleer Jordan PSA 10 especially turns over a lot.
Yeah,
typically 2 to 3 times a month. With some exceptions. And then during Last Dance, during 1 month during Last Dance, the month of May, it sold 12 times.
Yeah.
So, that card turns over a lot. Too much probably for it to ever go crazy, like how first edition Charizard is.
And there's a couple people that own a good portion of the PSA 10 Charizards. Like the Gary from Pawn Stars, I think he owns quite a few of them. He's got like the BGS 10 ones as well.
Wow.
So there's just guys that like have a lot of them and they enjoy them more and they don't want to sell. Modern Pokemon is tough. It's really tough. I mean, think of it like think of modern Pokemon like modern basketball without serial numbers, and they print as many as people want. So, I mean, you have a scenario where like they don't serial number them, so there's just basically, and then it's sets. I mean, there's some of them are harder to pull than others within the set, but like people are set chasing in Pokemon, so like everyone finishes their set, so everyone has the cards. So they're pretty easy to get.
Interesting. Even trying to set up search queries for Charizard, First Edition, Shadowless, and base set is tricky. You've got stamp variations. You've got all sorts of different international versions, Japanese, Portuguese, Spanish. There's a lot German.
And
There's lots of different types.
I have the pop on the unlimited Charizard Holo, and it's been graded 13,735 times. The first edition's been graded 2,500 times, Shadowless 3,000 times. So even these really, really old ones, it's honestly not that hard to get your hands on these cards. And the Charizard Holo PSA 9s I saw were worth $4,000. There's the pop on that is 4,600. Those are easy cards to get.
Yeah.
Be cautious. Let's move on.
Okay. So we are back. We took a week off. Thank you for the many messages that came in of people who were glad that we are back this week. For example, let me send a shout out to Nice Looking Cardboard. He just wants us to bring the general Friday night awesomeness. Happy Friday night to all, and thank you for that comment. Jay Christian 648 simply wants us to discuss everything, and he requests 4 hours tonight. I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, so let me display some things as well. I have 2 new cards that are so far out of my comfort range, it's staggering. This is the Trout 2011 Topps Update US 175 True Gem, and an Aaron Rodgers Bowman rookie card. Like I said, these are way out of my comfort zone, but I like having these cards because it makes it a lot more interesting to study the markets for these players.
Yeah, it's like forcing us to do our homework, right?
It is, and it's a lot more fun to do your homework when you have some skin in the game. And that Trout comes courtesy of the great Josh Keane, who
Nice.
He asked me if me buying that card for him was worthy of a shout out on the crossover, and I said, sure, my friend. Okay. First question. This
We're gonna
is
skip.
very topical.
You're not gonna let me gloat about LeBron for a minute?
But here's the first question. Let me the first question tease into it nicely. Back to Collecting says, with LeBron winning, what high-end LeBron, whether it's the Chrome Refractor, the SB Authentic, etc., do you like best and why? But let's talk about the Lakers. Let's talk about LeBron. Let's talk about everything, and then we can bring it back to cards for the question.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I'm very happy to see LeBron win another title. Obviously, very biased, very openly biased about it. It's fine. I have a lot of LeBron cards. He's my favorite player of all time, favorite athlete. So really happy for him and sort of happy for the Lakers. Not really. I don't really care for their organization, but happy for LeBron. The team came together. LeBron played great. Definitely got some lucky breaks in the bubble there, not having to face Kawhi, not having to face a fully healthy Heat team, and not having to face Giannis. So that the bubble kind of proved its difficulty and with some of these other teams that folded too early. But LeBron was the strongest of the bunch, got through him, and kind of rolled to the championship. There's a little bit of a road bump there with Game 5, but not much resistance, to be honest. I thought he looked dominant. AD played great. And LeBron cemented himself as the best player in the world again.
Yeah, I heard on one of my podcasts, too many NBA podcasts I listen to, that this may have been LeBron's, from the statistical point of view, the best NBA Finals he ever played. Does that sound right?
No. What? No.
White Claw.
Best finals he's ever played?
Yeah, statistically.
Maybe. This is his most efficient. He shot like 60%. I read that he shot the highest 2-point percentage in NBA playoff history for like the whole playoffs.
Yeah.
And that includes like Shaq and, like Kareem and all these guys, which is kind of nuts being a forward. I mean, it was his most efficient. You can tell, like, watching his game, he's a lot more methodical and, like, if you go watch some old, like, Heat games and, like, old Cavs, he's definitely, like, more athletic, more aggressive, and he's kind of running around. But now he's a little bit more slow and thoughtful. Obviously, he's just older, but his game is just, there's no bad shots anymore. It's either, like, a drive, layup, open three, or a pass, right? There's no more, like, mid-range, really, and it's more efficient. So, I mean, I could see, like, most efficient stats, but it wasn't like the most volume stats.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Lakers title was never in doubt throughout the Western Conference path, I don't think. They lost one game apiece to every team they faced, whether it was the Blazers, the Nuggets, or
The Rockets.
Right? They lost one game apiece to each of those teams, but that was it. And I feel like after they lost a game, you knew they weren't going to lose another one, like within the first 5 minutes of the subsequent game. They should not have lost twice to the Heat. That was the sheer force of Jimmy Butler having one of the all-time greatest NBA Finals games ever with his 40-point triple-double that he just willed that team to win one more game than they should have. They probably shouldn't have won any, to be honest, but that team had so much fight and determination in them that it was impressive. But the Lakers never really seemed in doubt to me, even through the regular season. As we talked about it, I said I don't see a team beating the Lakers this year. That's not to say that any team is impervious, but I think that was one of the most dominant wire-to-wire seasons that the Lakers have had in quite a long time. And I think you're going to look at a potential Lakers dynasty coming up here with AD and LeBron at the core of it. Yeah,
I mean, they're obviously going to have more resistance next year with more teams getting healthy, and hopefully we're out of the bubble. Gosh, I hope so. So you should see some more teams getting stronger, but I think the Lakers are going to get stronger too, right? Like, teams are going to want to go play there on lower contracts just to win. So I think they're going to attract a couple more guys. I think I read some rumors about Chris Paul and Gallinari and stuff like that. So, they'll probably get someone big like that and make another run at it and improve themselves. So I think next year should be fun too.
Yes, it should. I saw that Rondo I don't know what Rondo's doing. I do hope that he comes back. I thought he was pretty dang good. It's at least at certain parts during the playoffs. Perhaps shot too many threes, but I think Rondo's a nice piece. They will add more pieces.
Yeah.
It was just an impressive season by LeBron, by Davis. I think Davis converted me, although I'm still not a huge believer like others. He converted me throughout the playoffs because, as we all recall, during the regular season, he was not a sufficient anchor to that team when LeBron was not on the floor. They were a net 0 in net rating when he was the star who had to carry the weight, and LeBron was like a plus 11. So that kind of told the story of who the better player was. But by the time the playoffs came around, Davis kind of started going off. He hit that huge game winner at the buzzer to beat the Nuggets and kind of permanently tilt that series. He was just exceptional too. Just that team is just dominant.
He turned into the most versatile defender in the NBA, like during those playoffs. I thought he was guarding Butler. He was guarding the pick and rolls really well. He was defending the paint. He's able to move laterally a lot better than most big guys. He can defend on the wing. I mean, there's really nobody he can't guard. I think is the big thing for the Lakers. They were able to use that as a really serious weapon whenever they needed it. It was probably the most effective weapon in the entire finals. I thought it was the biggest difference maker, other than LeBron's creations and ability to get other guys' shots. It's Davis's as a defender.
Yeah, his rim protection made Tyler Caruso choke a wide open shot. I mean, Tyler Hero. Sorry, made Tyler Hero choke a wide open shot from like 10 feet away. He sent it like 15 feet in the air and it dropped 2 feet short.
Tyler Hero cards finally started going down. That was the most ridiculous stuff I've ever seen.
They have, but they're not as low as they were. People perhaps have doubled down on Mr. Hero. He had the one big playoff game, but going up against the Lakers defense, that is a tall order.
Yeah,
to be sure.
He's just too young, man. Like it's just tough. Nobody. There's a reason you don't see 20-year-olds dominating the finals. It's just hard. Like he'll probably get better, but he was the fourth best player on the losing team in the finals. I don't understand this. Like someone sent me a $30,000 auction for a raw RPA. It's like, what? 30 grand? You're gonna eat your hat on that, friendo.
Yeah, that's very well said. Hero too. I've heard people speculate that he's like a lock to be an all-star next year and stuff like that. I would just say expand the sample size. I heard that on ESPN. In fact, I think it was.
Oh, I bet one of those goobers on ESPN said that to get you to click their video. Jeez.
And so just expand the sample size. And remember too that Hero was effectively in the first portion of his second season in the bubble. He had a full off season. Now, albeit not a typical off season, but he had a full off season.
Yeah. All right, that's enough LeBron. I'm still shocked they made the playoffs, but they weathered the storm in the regular season and found their way into the playoffs. It was tough grind. They got there.
Yeah. Miraculous. A miraculous upset.
This is shocking.
Okay. So let's bring it back to cards. Back to Collecting says, what high-end LeBron do you like best and why? And he gives two examples. He says Topps Chrome Refractor, SP Authentic, etc. So maybe people are looking for a little bit of opinions on what high-end LeBrons are catching people's eye right now.
Well, let's look. I mean, as a collector, it's hard for me to say like which high-end is my favorite. I mean, I kind of go for like the collector cards. I look for ones that kind of catch my eye and, are a little bit harder to find. Let's look at 2003. But, like, honestly, you can't really go wrong with much LeBron right now because we saw that. We talked about it with Mahomes, but LeBron is seeing the same thing with his cards. Like, a lot of his card values are going down right now, especially, like, the newer Prism stuff. And that's just because, like, it was kind of already baked in that he was going to win and, like, the result happened and then supply went up because people tried to sell and prices went down. But then what happened with Mahomes, if you pay attention to his Prism market, it got a huge run-up a couple months after the Super Bowl. So I personally think this is like the last window you have of buying really nice LeBron stuff, and if you're going to do it now. So if like whatever you like, go after it. If there's something you've wanted, get it now. That's not me like hype it. It's just I'm just using the Mahomes as the example here.
Dude, and it also happened to Brady as well. That after several of Brady's recent championships, his market experienced an oversupply because there's a general intuition among people, and it's a false intuition. But the intuition is that the best time to sell a player is right after a big accomplishment or a big event because the demand is super high at that time. But the problem with that theory is that everybody thinks the same thing.
Yeah.
And so one of the great sweet rewards of being a collector and of being somebody who just loves to collect the player, who follows the player throughout their career, and who really actually authentically feels demand and wants to collect the player's cards when that player is doing great things. You are rewarded historically if you go in and you pick up cards of that player right after their big event, and all you're doing is you're following your heart and your passion. You're not. Most of the people who do this are not so concerned about returns and flipping and stuff like that. They're more concerned about they want to add a card to their collection of a player that they love, and the player just did something amazing and they want to collect it. And what ends up happening is that those guys end up experiencing the great buying window opportunity, which happens in the wake of a huge monumental event, such as LeBron winning his 4th ring with 3 different teams, 10th finals appearance, soon to be the all-time leading scorer, soon to dominate all relevant statistical categories. It seems like he owns virtually every relevant playoff statistical category. I just, if you are a LeBron guy, and after what you just saw during this season and then during just playoffs, and you want to add a LeBron card, the hobby gods are with you, because there does appear to be a buying window open right now.
And there's a lot of cool cards. I've sorted by monthly and cards going down. I mean, it's all the stuff we kind of figured, like base card type stuff, but there are some cool cards that have gone down quite a bit that, you know, good time to buy, I think.
It is. And one last thought on LeBron. You know, players and great athletes have moments, and let the moment happen and enjoy the moment and celebrate the moment. Whether it's a player that you root for or not, you can enjoy and celebrate and congratulate that moment. When will be the next time we see an all-time legend add his 4th title to his resume? Yeah, you know, maybe it gets a bit hyperbolic. People are just maybe a little bit, you know, overwhelmed with the achievement, but so what? You know, that happened with Jordan in Last Dance. That happens every time Brady wins. Just enjoy it and celebrate it. Enjoy the moment. The moment passes, and then, you know, you don't want to look back and have felt bitter or bad about it. Enjoy it and enjoy the tremendous accomplishment that it was. If you can will yourself to do that, you'll enjoy your life a lot more.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I'm trying to buy as much LeBron as I can right now because I'm excited that he won as a collector, you know, like this is my favorite time to buy is after he did something good.
Well, that's what's amazing, is that he's never been more collectible than right now. I mean, my God, you know, just even as I was watching the finals happen and the playoffs happen, it just dawns on you, especially as you think about things through the lens of the hobby, of what a unique thing is happening and what a collectible player this is.
Yeah, and I'm sure most people thought this watching, like, golly, man, this guy's got 3 more years of this. Just watching him, you're like, there's no way he doesn't. There's no way he regresses
Yeah,
for 3 years. It's just like, how is this happening?
it's amazing. Basketball is amazing. I already miss basketball so much. I mean, we're watching over here. We're watching in the background the conference finals equivalent, or whatever they call it in baseball. We were watching the Dodgers and the Braves, and the other one. And like, I love baseball. I played baseball as a kid. It's great stuff. But like, man, I just miss basketball. Even football. You know, I love watching football too. But man, basketball playoffs, NBA finals, nothing has me on the edge of my seat like that. And we've heard that, you know, John Hollinger apparently said on a podcast, maybe the NBA comes back in January. Other places, I've heard Windhorst say it might not be until March. Yeah. So, wow. The period of uncertainty right now almost assuredly is also causing trepidation amongst potential buyers who are entering into cards. If you're bullish on sports cards, if you love basketball, if you love a guy like LeBron, man, now is the time.
Yep. And football seems it's not as exciting to me without the fans. Football needs the fans more than basketball, I think. Like that bubble is just it was entertaining. Like I would have preferred fans, obviously, but it wasn't bad. And the NFL product without fans is awkward. Maybe it's just like the giant empty stadiums or something. It's like I can hear the quarterbacks. It's just weird.
Yeah. Plus, like football, like fake crowd noise is really hard to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Yeah, plus like all the injuries, man. Oh my God, that is so like the Dak injury was just like
Brutal.
made me sad, bro. And
Brutal.
like Saquon Barkley was my #1 fantasy pick, of course. Nick Chubb was one of my other top picks. Cortland Sutton, another one. All those guys are like out for like a long time this season. I just got obliterated. Just the injuries is just really sad. And of course my guy McCaffrey, you know, with the high ankle sprain.
Yeah, Michael Thomas hasn't played yet. God, man. Ugh, Julio Jones has been hurt. Freaking Mike Evans has been hurt. DeAndre Hopkins has played pretty well. Yeah, it's been brutal, man. I think that, you know, the no training camp, no preseason, it's obviously affecting these guys. They didn't have time to loosen up and get ready for the season, and they're just thrown in there. And and there's so many positive tests now, and games are getting moved all over the place. Fantasy football is a mess with the COVID stuff, and oof.
Yeah. Plus, we were talking earlier, Le'Veon Bell going to the Chiefs, and just all these random, like, weird things happening. You said the rich get richer. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, dude. We have so many questions to get to, bro. It's at least 100.
All right, let's
All
go.
right. Here's a football question. Since we're kind of talking about football, this comes from Pork Chop Sports Cards. He says, "Is there any reason why Lamar Jackson cards are dropping so much?"
Yeah, he's not playing great.
Yeah.
And Mahomes kind of like imposed his will on him in that game, and it didn't look great for Lamar. I think people also kind of realizing like, if he's not able to get better at passing, it's going to be a problem in a couple of years.
Yeah, so Lamar Jackson is 12th right now in quarterback rating. He sits above Jared Goff and below Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
That is kind of the way the season has gone for him so far. But, the guy is also basically undefeated against the league except for Mahomes. So, the guy and certain cards of his are still, like, especially rare ones that didn't have to go through the roller coaster, they're still setting record highs. So, like, that zebra in a PSA 9 set a record high yesterday.
Yeah.
So, and that when a player's rare cards are setting record highs, that means there are collectors out there and there are people who like that player. So yeah. I don't want to over dramatize it. The guy's the reigning MVP. So
this is the card. I mean, this one went way down. This is way overpriced though. 3,800 for a base prism. It's nuts. Not so price. That is just way too high.
Yeah,
but yeah.
And that's a hobby wide retreat on the high quantity Optichrome base card.
But dude, if you like Lamar Jackson, like you should be thrilled. Go buy his cards. This is the chance. Like this whole up and down stuff. When cards go down, buy it. When they go up, sell it. It's like not much more difficult than that in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and also a guy like Jackson, there seem to be certain like hobby milestones or benchmarks that athletes will hit that trigger a new wave of enthusiasm for that player among collectors.
Yeah.
I think Lamar's next threshold or next benchmark is going to have to be, making a nice deep playoff run. I think that's what's on deck for him. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he's won a playoff game yet. So
right. I mean, dude, he's been a full-time quarterback for 1.5 years. Like he's still young, so he hasn't won a playoff game in 1 year. Great. Neither has Tony Romo and Dak Prescott. So.
Shout out Tony Romo.
Yeah. I mean, if you think the Ravens are still good, I mean they're like what 3-1 or 4-1 or whatever. Like the Ravens will make the playoffs, and he could have a good playoff game, and all of a sudden the narrative changes once again. So that's football.
Indeed. And man, football is just dynamic. That market rises and falls very quickly, and then rises again. All right, moving on here. There's such an array of different types of questions that we got. Since we were talking about Prism base there with Lamar Jackson, let me bring in this card from Paul O. Pratienza. Paul says, Luka base Prism PSA 10. Buy the offseason dip, or is this a correction due to high population? What do you think about that?
I posted something about this where like there's a big dip on a lot of basketball cards, and I think there's a pretty good buying opportunity with a lot of that stuff just because it's gone down so much. But some of them I'd be still leery because the pop is so high. Like a lot of them dipped because of the correction on just the population and oversupply of stuff. So I think if you're going to buy the dip on the basketball cards, just pay attention to population and try to get ones that are more rare. So like the Luka base, it'll probably go back up a little bit. I don't know that it'll go up to $2,000 again anytime soon, but it's definitely one that was due for a massive correction just based on the sheer volume of the card. There's just so many, and you can't really trust it because they can enter the market so quickly because there's so many of them.
So many of them. It's staggering. It's Ken Griffey Jr. Upper Deck. It's 86 Fleer Jordan. Like, it's staggering how many of those copies are out there. It's just unbelievable. But I do see that the card is trending up right now. It bottomed out at like 1,100 range, and now sales are coming in at around 1,400.
Really?
So Yeah, so people are going to do what they're going to do. There must be, I don't know how, man, we need better demographic information about this hobby. Who are these buyers? Reveal yourselves.
Is there gonna
chat?
is there gonna be anyone more hyped as a young player going into a season than Luka will be next year? Can you think of like an example recent in history? I can't.
No, he's
Zion last year.
Yeah, Zion last year, but people were also very tolerant of a wide range of potentialities. So they just knew that this guy was going to be explosive and a very talented young man but they didn't set like an MVP expectation, like an albatross and hanging around his neck. But Luka, I noticed this two interesting things on some of the sports books that I look at. The first one is that the Lakers are favorites to repeat, which I think is wise. I think that makes sense to me. But then the other one was that Luka was the favorite to win MVP by a slight margin. He's plus 400, and Giannis is plus 425.
Because he doesn't have like the other superstar, right? Like LeBron and Davis kind of cancel each other out for the award almost, and so it's like Giannis and Luka. And dude, I mean, it's a good bet. The guy was awesome.
Yeah, but to your point, the expectations now are phenomenal. The expectation going into year 2 was pretty modest,
right?
And now the expectation is just tremendous. So
I mean, there's going to be so much hype and expectation that his cards are going to get a pretty decent bump at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, so that's what Iconic Card Collector writes in about. Great guy. He says, what are your thoughts on the market, especially as we lead up to the next NBA season? How have card prices reacted to the season, and how soon before the season do we see the market typically start to rise? Like we were getting into that right there. What's going to happen to the market leading into this next NBA season?
It'll be down for the next like month or two, and then it'll start to go up again. I mean, people are pretty simple. They don't buy cards when things aren't hyped, and they do when they are. Like, you can honestly make a decent amount of money just on people's emotions, and just on that simple fact. And so let's just follow like the Mahomes market. So like Super Bowl. So last season, he was kind of rising. Yeah, sorry.
Blow it up so we hear it. That's okay.
Yes. So last season, he was kind of going up in price leading up to his Super Bowl run. They won their Super Bowl like here. It actually went down to Super Bowl here, and then flat for like a month. And then going into April, we had a bump, or mid-March, we had a bump back down, stabilized, and then a huge run up in April into May. And then it sort of went down a little bit in June, and then a huge run up going into the season. So this right here is like July. So this is a couple months before the season. Then the season starts. He wasn't like, there's other players that were MVP candidates over him. He didn't light up the world. They lost the game, so he comes back down a little bit. So it's like the run up like 2 to 3 months before the season. And since we don't know the timeline of the bubble, there might be some more iffy timelines and more speculation. It's like the more speculation, the better.
Yeah, that's so true. And the longer the speculation is allowed to exist, the higher the price gets before it calms down a bit. But the thing about Mahomes is second in the NFL in quarterback rating. Like, the guy is still great as ever. Sometimes there's just like supply and demand factors in the hobby, and how many people are willing to start trying to cash in on a player because his prices got so high. That can overcome and overwhelm enormous demand for the player. And that's what's happening with Mahomes. Rodman had sent a question to the chat that said, which players in football are meeting their expectations? The market says that Mahomes is like somehow not quite, where people aren't irrationally exuberant like they may have been going into the season. But like, this is one guy who is definitely exceeding expectations. Aaron Rodgers. He leads the league in quarterback rating. He has 92.5. Mahomes is second, but it's not even close. It's 86.1. Aaron Rodgers is absolutely going off so far through the first quarter of this season. So there's a good example of a football player who is just tearing it up right now.
The others are Russell Wilson, killing it. MVP
Killing
candidate.
it.
His stuff is killing it. Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield's played above expectations. DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf's been playing great. Kyler Murray got off to a good start. He's been slipping after that. Yeah, a lot of Rodgers, a lot of Wilson, a lot of Allen, a lot of Randy Moss still. Just kind of cool to see.
That is cool.
Very sad. There's some Lamar. Jared Goff's been playing really well. Ezekiel Elliott. Cam Newton's been playing well. Aaron Donald had a monster game last week. I think he had 3 sacks. So some definitely
No real surprises. I mean, Josh Allen and Baker, like especially Josh Allen. I don't know if anybody thought he was going to break out to be this. Although he took a step back, I think, in the most recent game against the Titans. But at the same time, like the Bills had a weird situation in front of them where they weren't sure whether they should be preparing for the Titans on Tuesday or the Chiefs on Thursday. So like maybe that factored into it, but
plus, I mean, guys lose one game and all of a sudden they're trash. Like that's just how it goes in the NFL.
Yep, that's sad but true. What do you think about Kyler so far as an Arizona Cardinals fan?
Ugh. I mean, it's such a great start, but a couple of really, really bad weeks. The offense looked bad. I think Kyler looks great. I mean, I have no reason to worry really long term, but a couple bad weeks there. It's a downer, but Hopkins looks amazing. Him and Hopkins look really good. They just need to get more out of their defense.
So Hopkins gives me a chance to bring in another question if I can find it with the control app. I can't, but the nature of the question was this. It was, how does off-season news, and it was related to basketball, but it was like, how does off-season news impact off-season prices in the hobby? Well, I can give you one historical example. When Hopkins was announced that he was joining the Cardinals, Kyler's cards like doubled overnight.
Yeah.
If Giannis, were to say, hey, I'm signing with Miami, or I'm being traded to Miami, since it would require a trade at this juncture, his market would react in a visceral way, right? So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about that? How does off-season news impact the move markets?
Just speculation. Speculation drives prices in this market for the most part. So it's pretty hard up or hard down on those events.
Yes, it is. Okay. Let's see here. Where should we go next? I found the question. Okay. Some of these are good OT questions. Let's see here. I got a lot of stuff about MJs. Let's talk about MJs for a second. Kings Angels 22 says, speak about the MJ auctions at PWCC. The Platinum Portraits Raw has me interested, but the description says it measures short. Does that mean it may be altered? And Midwest Vintage Cars had a similar question. He said there seems to be some big cars coming to the market, MJ Red PMGs, Classic 61, and the Jambalaya on Golden. Are people consolidating? What accounts for this? So first one real quick. He said the description says the Platinum Portraits measures short. I know that grading companies sometimes will reject a card as being qualified for receiving a numerical grade on the basis of a size requirement. The card might be too small. So perhaps, but I don't want to speculate. I don't know why the description says it measures short, but yes, you should probably be leery of a card that is specifically being described as being too short. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, buy it with the thought that it's altered.
Yeah. I think that's reasonable. And then Midwest Vintage wants to know what accounts for – so there's actually 2 PMG Reds at auction right now. One is a BJS 85 on Golden, and one is an authentic altered with PWCC. There is a Classic 61, which is a fringe grail, but definitely a grail.
Dude, we're going to be so right on that 85. I guarantee it. Like, look at the altered one is already at 110.
Yeah, and I know that they've been curating the bidder list and eliminating zero feedback bidders who, of course, have made their presence known on the bid history on that card, but they have been eliminated right now. So it seems to be somewhat plausible that that's
Dude, you can cry.
legitimate.
You can cry shill all you want on PWCC. They relist cards that don't get paid. It's that simple. Like there's nothing to argue about. There's no debate. You can cry all you want. I get so many messages about that. Their prices are
It's
higher
true.
because they get more eyeballs and they have more buyers.
Yep, it's true. Especially like the thing that I think gets so overlooked about that is PWCC is trusted to ship and deliver high-end cards to international buyers. If there was ever an obstacle to peer-to-peer deals happening in the high-end market, it's that it's very difficult to have a reliable, trustworthy shipping method. And PWCC is trusted to get the item to the winning bidder, even if it takes an armored truck or whatever the store, or however that PMG green was delivered to Net, they will get the card to you. So I think that that's huge, like the trust and the confidence that the card is going to get to you. And like you said, dude, if a card doesn't sell, it's getting relisted.
Yeah, like to an annoying level where sellers are like, just give me the card back, and they're like, no, we're relisting it.
Yep. Yes, indeed they do. And I know a legitimate collector who won an auction but then took issue with it because of a later flaw that he thought he spotted with the card, and so he said, I don't want to buy this card anymore. They banned him for life.
They're not joking around, like, and I think because of all that, the confidence then grows to continue to buy through them and sell through them. Like I feel better knowing that they're doing all that stuff. So
100%. And having had several successful selling experiences through them, like I know what I'm getting. I know that I send it. I know it lists the next month. It's just smooth.
It's great. It's easy. And they have so many great features. Like if I win an auction, I can pay with other cards and I can send it to them. Like that's amazing.
That is amazing. Levi's PC wrote in on the topic of Jordan. He said, where do I start in the MJ market on a slight budget? And so I'm going to offer a self-serving answer to this question, which is whether you're a Card Ladder member or whether you're on the free site. At this point in time, we have maybe 500 Michael Jordan cards of all price ranges. So just punch in Michael Jordan and scroll and dig in until your heart is content. You can sort by current value. If you want to narrow in on different price ranges, you get to see a picture of the card. You know exactly what you're dealing with. And then at the end, at the bottom of every card profile is a link to either the trading card database or Cardboard Connection that lets you dig in and learn more about the set. So literally, if I was to try to start collecting Jordan, I would go boom. I would go right there and I would just start scrolling and just get lost.
Dude, these cards are cheap. I mean, Jordan relatively cheap.
He has awesome low-end inserts that provide a great entry point for somebody who just wants to start collecting.
Dude, this card's only $87.
That's the last raw. And it was higher. Raw copies were higher, but yes, that card has dipped below 100.
I mean, there's probably a crap ton of this stuff, right? That is the population on some of the stuff. This is a PSA 10 right here. It's only 766. Look at that. Look at that image.
Sick card.
Dude, there's always affordable stuff, even for Jordan, which is like seemingly the issue is that people see, like, if they want to buy something like Luka or Jordan, all they see all day are the expensive high-end ones and the Prism, PSA 10 silvers and stuff like that, which are really expensive. But if you really dig in and you really want to collect a guy, and you don't care about the monetary value, there's always stuff for every player. There's always cheap cards.
Dude, I keep plenty of low-end Jordan around just because the cards are awesome. Dude, low-end Jordan was my entry point to the hobby, and it taught me everything. It taught me so much about the hobby. Great way to learn how to collect and to learn about sets. Look, I just have low-end Jordan cards just sitting around just because
And there's a lot of guys out there that like collecting low-end stuff more because they can have more volume of it and they can just like rifle through cards more frequently. So look at this one, dude. $132.
Sick card. Vortex, very condition sensitive.
All I did was I just did current value and I reversed the sword, so I'm looking at the cheapest ones. Look at this one. PSA 9, high grade, frequent flyer. It's pretty cool.
That's a sick card. Yeah, it's die cut too. It's got the rounded corners. Awesome card.
And a lot of these cards aren't, the reason a lot of these aren't going up is, there's not that, oh, is this the next card to get? Like, there's not a lot of hype on investment and all that stuff. It's just people that collect them have them, and that's it.
Yes, they do. And you will go to shows, you will never see one of these cards. It's just not the hype train situation. This is people who love cards who are collecting these.
I always thought these were really cool.
Yeah, those are sick.
PSA 9. I mean, dude, if you want to be a collector, start buying PSA 9 cards and BGS 9 because you can build an incredible collection of 9s.
9s have always been fine with me.
Dude, an 8 on these are really tough on condition. Or an 8 would be tough. Pop 38. And this card's only about $200. You could convince your friends that you have like a high-end Jordan card if you have this card. Don't you think?
Dude, that card is gorgeous, man. It's got
the
this
Pop
window,
38. It's low.
transparent. Yeah, no, it is. It is low. A lot of that stuff is low, man. Like, especially in the Panini era, like with 15,000 base PSA10s or whatever.
It's only a Pop 15 PSA 10, Pop 55 PSA. Man, that's a cool card.
No, that card's awesome. All right, let me we're coming up on like the end of hour 1 here. Let me throw in a fun question as a tease for hour 2.
Okay.
Conrad's Sports Cards says, what do you think about the fact that people are grading their card? What do you think about the fact that people are grading their graded cards with NBA gold diamond?
So stupid. Fucking stupid. I saw that. A diamond crap, whatever. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
So what this is a grade of a graded card. Which like, but like in fairness, some of the variants that we see on like PSA 10s merits a second grade, I think, on especially like the off-centering, some of the stuff with Prism when it was first coming out in 2018. So like I kind of get why there's a need for that maybe, but like I don't, but honestly, like it's silly. And
You know why it's stupid? Because if you're showing it off to a friend, you have to hand them 2 things. It sounds simple to say, like, oh, that's not that bad. But, like, that's why I don't like the COA autographs, because I have to, like, store the card and the COA next to it. It's just weird. Like, the whole point of cards is that they're really easy to present and explain. It's like, here it is, hold it. You can see the grade. You can read everything about it. Oh, hold on, there's also this other thing that grades the grade, and you're just gonna like lose people on it, Like the point of cards to me, like the value of them is how simple they are to explain to someone and telling the story of them. The simpler the story, the easier it is to convince someone of the value of something. If I have to show you two pieces of documentation around it, you're gonna lose people.
Yeah, dude. And then, what are the credentials for a person to grade a graded card? Like that matters too. Like, who are you? What's the basis for this? What methods are you using? What's the scale? Maybe they have all these things. I haven't looked into it at all, but I hope these are things that raise concerns.
Let's start this, dude. Card ladder, grade the grades or something. All right.
Get your slab.
Oh, remember, there's no more time limit.
Oh, okay. Well, then are we just? Well, shit. I need to plug in my phone in a second here.
So let me end this and we'll take a break and I'll save this one off and we'll migrate.
Okay, sounds good.
See you in a bit.
The future is here. An innovation that will change the way the industry works. A Hot 100 chart, updated daily. The most accurate price guide on the market. Every card has its own profile with a wealth of information. Know the precise, real-time value of any card in the system. On demand. You now have the power to unlock the secrets of the hobby. The game changer is here. Card Ladder.